Greetings again, film fans. Our feature of the day is Jiro Dreams of Sushi. From 2011. It is a documentary out of Japan. Yes, I know. I typically don't use documentaries. Usually they're really boring and dry, and maybe you're going to say that about this one. But one of its saving graces is it's only 81 minutes long, okay? If you like Japan, if you like Tokyo, if you like Japanese culture, if you like sushi, or if you just appreciate people who have mad skills in life, you'll probably appreciate this short 81-minute documentary, despite the fact that it's a subtitled documentary. The film follows one Jiro Ono, the 89 or 90-year-old sushi master and owner of Sukiyabashi Jiro. I say 89 or 90, just realized I don't know when you're going to watch this video clip. So Jiro Ono was born in 1925, and as of 2015, when I'm making this introductory video, he is still very much alive and well and working in the sushi restaurant that bears his name every day. Every single day. And Sukiyabashi Jiro is a sushi restaurant, a Michelin 3-star rated sushi restaurant that's actually located in a small little shop that seats like 10 people at a time on your way down into a subway station in Tokyo, in the Tokyo metropolitan area. Yeah, it's a really huge deal. Heads of state from all over planet Earth go and visit this place, and he's widely admired as the best sushi master on planet Earth. And if you don't know the Michelin rating system, it's a system, I believe, out of France that rates restaurants, and 3 stars is the max you can get. There's no such thing as 4. And I believe Sukiyabashi Jiro was the first restaurant rated in Japan, and it's certainly the highest rated sushi restaurant on planet Earth. It's that kind of a big, huge deal to foodies and rich people and critics and things like that. This is a very famous restaurant, although it's very subtle and unassuming, and you're going to see it because it's the scene of most of the action of this movie. Now, Jiro is the old man. It'll be easy to figure that out pretty quick. He has 2 sons, the younger son, Takish, and the older son, the 50-year-old or 51-year-old Yoshikazu, who is obliged to succeed his father someday and take over the restaurant. So a 50-year-old man is waiting to take over a restaurant from a 90-year-old father. It's crazy. But that's the kind of things I'm hoping you're going to pay attention to in this film is the relationships, family relationships in Japan, and dedication to work that's so preeminently, almost a driving, passionate dedication to work that is a very preeminently Japanese cultural phenomena. And this guy epitomizes all that. And attention to detail. There's so many great things going on here about Japanese culture. That's why I like showing this film. And hopefully you like sushi and you'll be interested in that. So speaking of which, the only other picture or person that's featured prominently in the film off and on the whole time is Yamamoto, who is a famous food writer who himself has written books on sushi. So if you're interested in the history of sushi and the current greatest restaurants in the world, go read Yamamoto's books. He's also featured in the film as well. So what this is a story of is a family, a guy dedicated to a craft that does one thing, and he's done one thing his whole life, and he does it so well, he's world renowned for it, and that is make sushi. Now, you know this stuff, the sushi stuff, the raw fish that you probably take for granted because you think it's been around everywhere on planet Earth forever, but it really hasn't. More on that later, but it's a very modern phenomenon to have such wide availability of sushi, and pay attention to that storyline throughout the film as well. You can get it now anywhere in the U.S. and even in a small town wherever you are in the United States and anywhere in Europe. But this, of course, is a distinctly Japanese cuisine, a distinct component of Japanese culture. And by the way, why do the Japanese eat so much fish and rice? Because isn't that what we think sushi is? It's fish and rice and fish, or something seafood and rice. Hopefully you've already watched the Japanese lecture on why. Because of physical geography and history, the Japanese really have as foundation stones of their diet rice and fish, and thus there's lots of experimentation with these 2 ingredients and into this one thing that we now recognize as sushi. Now you're going to hear lots of different technical terms for the sushi that they're making in this film. You call everything that has rice and fish in some sort of wrap as sushi, but there's lots of different differentiations in the cuisine itself, especially if you go to a high-end sushi restaurant. In its most basic form, in the basic, Sushi is a Japanese food consisting of vinegared rice, and we always get that, combined with really any other ingredient, most notably raw seafood, sometimes vegetables, sometimes even tropical fruits, on a pad of rice. If the stuff is put on a pad of rice, about the size of your thumb, then it's nigiri or nigiri sushi. That's the one you're mostly going to see in that film. That's why I'm telling you these terms. Nigiri sushi, nigiri. Pad of rice, something on top. The type you are more familiar with is fish or something in the middle with rice wrapped around it and a layer of seaweed or a belt of seaweed wrapped around it. The seaweed is nori, and you're going to see people actually toasting sheets of nori in the film. And then cut into pieces and rolled and cut into pieces. That's the stuff that you are most familiar with, and that's actually technically, I think, called maki sushi or maki on a menu if you're ordering in a Japanese restaurant. Now, all this sushi culture has its roots in ancient Edo, the old name for the capital that we now call Tokyo. When peeps would create they would actually store fish by layering fish and then putting a layer of rice and layering fish and layering rice and actually kind of letting it ferment, which is a slow controlled rot. And that's how you get those kind of funky, sour flavors. That's how they did it back in the old day. But coming into the modern era, 1850s, 1860s, when Japan, because of the Meiji Restoration, starts really hustling and bustling and Tokyo starts becoming a major metropolitan area, you actually had food vendors, just like you'd have hot dog vendors or food trucks anywhere in New York City or LA or hell anywhere in America now, making their own little specialized craft. You had food vendors in a thriving Tokyo metropolitan area who were mimicking that slow fermented fish process by just substituting in vinegar into a rice that made it sticky and then taking fresh seafood and wrapping and doing lots of stuff with it. So it's this great cuisine that actually was basically started by food trucks, by street vendors who wanted bite-sized little morsels that you could sell, again, like you do hot dogs or pretzels on a street corner in New York City. Of course, it's come a long way since those roots 100, 150, 200 years ago. And we'll talk about that at the back end of the film, but let's get to it now. What is it that we're going to see in this film? I usually try to show films that show a bit of the landscape and the scenery and lots of stuff in the country. This one is all done in Tokyo. And Tokyo is a major metropolitan area, and it's a big city. It's one of the most important cities on planet Earth. It's what we call an alpha city. It's one of the richest cities on planet Earth. Tokyo is one of the 47 prefectures of Japan. You can consider that kind of like states. And yes, Tokyo is a city, so it's kind of like saying there's 50 states in the United States and Washington, D.C., right? There's 47 prefectures of Japan. Tokyo, the city, is one of them. And as I've suggested, it's both the capital of Japan and the largest city of Japan and the richest city of Japan and one of the richest parts of cities on planet Earth. Major metropolitan area with upwards of 37 or 38 million people located in it. World's largest urban agglomeration economy. The Tokyo economy is probably bigger than virtually half or more of the countries on planet Earth. It's just that big. City hosts 51 of the Fortune 500 global companies, highest number of any city in the world. Again, we call it an alpha city because there's so much going on. It's so critical to world markets and world economy and world trade and world finance and world technology. It's just a really huge, big deal. So the background, of course, is Tokyo, a place you know about. Now, you're mostly going to see this small little dinko restaurant, as I suggested. It's in a Tokyo subway station. Tsukiyobashi Jiro. Fabled restaurant, legendary restaurant in Tokyo's fashionable Ginza district. Widely regarded as the best sushi restaurant on planet Earth. They're also going to visit sporadically another thing I want to give you a few factoids about called the Tsukiji Market. Tsukiji Market. The fish market. Huge fish market. Probably the biggest and most famous and certainly highest valued fish market on planet Earth as well. The Tokyo Metropolitan Central Wholesale Market, that's the technical term, aka the Tsukiji Market, is the biggest wholesaler of fish and seafood market in the world and the largest wholesale food markets of any kind on planet Earth. It's in central Tokyo. It's about 700,000 metric tons of seafood a year is moved through this Fuse City Block area to the tune of $5.5 billion. And that's just one of 3 major fish markets in Tokyo. All 3 fish markets in Tokyo, open air, fresh fish markets, are valued at something like $6.5 billion. That's not how much they sell every year. That's just if you wanted to buy them, $6.5 billion. That alone is bigger than the GDP of a whole bunch of countries. That's just the fish being sold in Tokyo. But it's a great backdrop for the story because it's showing you the importance and the value of seafood, not just to this particular restaurant, but the attention to detail that everybody pays to seafood in Tokyo, in Japan, at large. This place is super famous because it's a tourist destination because it's so much going on. It's a destination for locals to just go to eat. So there's like 2 different sections of it. There's an inner market that you're going to see them going around and looking at fish in. That's where the fish auctions take place. The outer market is kind of a mix of wholesale and retail shops and restaurants. And again, people from all around Tokyo and tourists go in to see all this stuff happening. The market opens at 3 a.m. every day. The fish market, the tuna auction in particular, starts at 3 a.m., is finished by 5:20 a.m., and everybody's packed up and out of there by 7 a.m. That's before the sun even comes up. That's the action that you're gonna feel that energy when you see the Tsukuji fish market portrayed in this film. And they're gonna keep talking about how everybody's an expert, how these guys are really shokunin. This shokunin, this guy studies his octopus. This person does a sea urchin, and they've done it their whole lives. It's something that's kind of hard for us to fathom. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll wait for that from the post-discussion. So, the only other place you're going to see depicted in the film besides the restaurant, downtown Tokyo, the fish market, is Hamamatsu, which is Jiro's hometown that they go to sporadically, which is a city located in the Shizuoka prefecture, which is south of Tokyo, and they're just there for a little bit. But they take a nice train ride, so you see a little bit of the countryside, like that much. Let's get to the film, though. Some of the terms you're going to hear, I've now referenced one, shokunin. There's no real translation for of this to us, but I want you to think about it as you're watching this film. The Japanese word shokunin is defined by both the Japanese and Japanese English dictionaries as a craftsman or artisan. But that's a pretty liberal description. Doesn't really justify the deeper meaning that the Japanese give to it. Shokunin is someone that has technical skills, but it also implies an attitude and social consciousness that this is all work they're doing. This guy who just studies and sells sea urchins every day for 50 years, he has elevated that knowledge base to greater than anyone else on the planet throughout all time in history. And that's respectable in and of itself. The shokunin has a social obligation to work at his or her best for the general welfare of the people. So it's something kind of like an artisan and a craftsman and a master craftsman combined with like a Buddhist monk. It's really hard to explain, but you'll see that people give reverence. And when they say, oh, this guy's a shokunin, they're not playing around. That's like a really respectful thing to say about somebody. The other word that I definitely want you to pay attention to is umami. I want you to start using this term well after you finish watching this film. Umami, which a lot of folks are now saying is kind of the 5th sense on your tongue. Everybody used to say that there was 4 basic taste, sweet, sour, bitter, and salty. But many food writers and even scientists are now saying, no, there's something else, and we're going to call it umami. And it's a Japanese term, which means delicious or yummy. It's an unctuous, pleasant, savory taste that the tongue detects immediately when you get it, but it's hard to put words around. Salty, you got that. Sweet, we got that. Umami is something else altogether, and hopefully you'll figure out what that is by watching this film. But let's get to the film now. 81 minutes, Jiro's Dreams of Sushi. Things to pay attention to, obviously, all aspects of Japanese culture, family relationships, attitudes towards family in Japanese culture, Japanese diet, Japanese cuisine, obviously a center point here, Japanese attitudes towards specialization, as I've now pointed out with that shokunin term, attention to detail, meticulous attention to detail to the point of elevating the everyday into an art form. And the Japanese are famous for doing this for like everything, even like bonsai, rock gardens, floral arrangements, attention to detail. Watch that in action in this film. And finally, do pay attention to the story of sushi itself in terms of how globalization has taken this distinctly Japanese cuisine and cultural phenomena to the rest of the world, and what have been the impacts to the world because of the globalization of this one thing we call sushi. That's all I got for now. Enjoy the film. We'll see you on the flip side of 81 minutes. Enjoy Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Hi.